We're here to experience chaos so we can find the steady within ourselves. We're here to experience noise so we can find the stillness within ourselves, right? What's that famous expression, right? If a tree falls in a forest, how do you know? How do you hear it if no one's there to hear it? Something like that. How do you know stillness, steadiness, finding the truth and the answers within you if you don't have the chaos? Welcome to Divinely Human, a podcast for starseeds, lightworkers, and those seeking to remember the truth of who they are. I'm your host, Sarah Asher Rose, therapist, channel, and guide for those awakening their divine path. Here, your humanity is sacred, your voice is welcome, and your remembering begins. Let's dive in. Today, I'd like to share a concept with you and some stories, channel message, and of course, some teachings and ways to implement this topic into your life, which is finding the constant within us, the steady rhythm, that steady heartbeat and drumbeat in a world of chaos and noise and confusion. So let's face it, the outside world is full of noise and distraction. Throughout this podcast, you're going to hear me talk about finding the constant, finding the source of oneness within us, and how to find that in this busy world, right? The outer world is not going to change. It's always going to be full of noise, confusion, distraction. There's always going to be a distraction. We don't live in a vacuum. We don't live in a bubble, right? We're here to experience chaos so we can find the steady within ourselves. We're here to experience noise so we can find the stillness within ourselves, right? What's that famous expression, right? If a tree falls in a forest, how do you know? How do you hear it if no one's there to hear it? Something like that. How do you know stillness, steadiness, finding the truth and the answers within you if you don't have the chaos, right? So maybe you're like me and you need to carve out time to find that stillness within you. And if you're not like me, I suggest that you listen to this episode and listen to the channeled writing and some of the practices to carve out that time to find the stillness, especially for those of you who feel like you can't find your answers. You can't find your intuitive self, right? You don't know how to listen to your intuition. You don't know how to find the truth of who you are. And maybe people have said to you, well, the answers are within, or you know who you really are. And you might have said, well, no, I don't. How do I know that? The only way to know that, right? The only way to connect to that, to find the constant source of love and oneness and truth within you, is to go within. So in this episode, I'm going to be talking about that, right? Going within, how we find that steady source, that steady rhythm, the things that take us out of that, right? And how to reconnect with our inner voice, all right? So you might not know what your inner voice is because there are so many other voices that have filled your space. For a very long time, I struggled with lack of self-worth and constantly second-guessing myself, right? Doubting myself until I really started to connect to my voice, what I really wanted. And the only way to do that is to press pause and to sort of understand what that feels like. What does it feel like to connect to that steady source that's within you? Some of you might turn to nature, right? Because this is where truly it's easiest to find. There may be some of you have a hard time silencing your mind. And the more you try to find the stillness or try to meditate, the harder it becomes. That is the part of you that doesn't know how to be still, is used to functioning from the computer mind, the do list. But as I started to develop spiritually, I realized that connecting to that steadiness, that flow that's found in nature, is really connecting to that truth that we already have within us. It's already there. It can't be found within. And the only way to find it is to let go, is to surrender. Now, stilling the mind doesn't mean that we don't ever have a negative thought or don't ever have a thought, right? You're not going to be able to totally clear your mind all of the time, but finding that steady rhythm, finding that pace, that peace is really about recognizing and seeing the thoughts and then letting them go. So often I talk about being in a constant state of surrender. So if you want to really find the stillness, to find the answers within, to trust your intuitive self more, to find the flow and rhythm within you, you're not going to do that by being perfect, right? It's not by being perfect. It's about constantly surrendering that thought, surrendering that thought, surrendering that thought, going into a still space, making time to find the flow, and then having a negative thought, surrendering it, letting it go. Connecting to the flow again, having a thought, surrendering and letting it go. Because beneath all the chaos of our lives, if we never take the time to be in the stillness, we're just always in the doing. And we're always going to feel a sense of lack because that's only one part of you, right? The divine masculine, the part of you that does. But there's another part of you, the feminine, the creative self, that is connected to nature, right? That just is, that doesn't worry, that doesn't seek out how to do things, that doesn't need to understand. There's another part of you, your heartbeat, for instance, that just beats. Your heart, I always say this, your heart is always beating. It doesn't think, how do I have to beat? Your lungs, you breathe in air, you breathe out. You're not thinking, lungs breathe in, lungs breathe out. You go to sleep, you wake up. You have an automatic function. Your nervous system functions automatically, right? And it's that same steadiness, right? That same eternal force that exists in nature. So the reason why I want to talk about this, the reason why this topic is important is because so often in the chaos of life, we're always worrying and wondering how, when, and we always feel like we need to understand everything. And the truth is you don't really need to understand everything. Not everything needs to be understood by you to be experienced by you. Sometimes, right, things just are. And the more you can get in touch with that part of you that just is, the more you can experience peace, less resistance, more surrender, and getting more in touch with that part of you, that whole part of you, that creative part of you that wants to be expressed. Your soul, your connection to source is that constant, right? And it doesn't mean that life stops existing around you. You stop losing yourself, right? You can find that rhythm within you beneath all the noise and chaos, that steady pulse beneath all of it, that same rhythm that moves the tides, that turns the seasons, right? That keeps the planet spinning. That rhythm is not just around you, it's inside of you. And so this message, this episode is about getting in touch with that. And I want to share with you a short transmission that came through and just a reminder of this constant source, this constant rhythm that's always steady beneath the chaos. Hold on to the constant. In a sea of distraction, of noise, of fluctuations, of change, of birth and death, hold steadfast and true to the constant within you. For what is real will never cease to be, will transcend death, will outlive any form of external chaos and penetrate any illusion. Hold still, steadfast and true, to the constant within you. For what is constant within will never cease to be. Find the light of the constant within, and it will guide you through shadow and lead you home safely. It is the answer to life's most puzzling questions and the life raft in a sea of confusion. Hold on, dear one, to the constant within, and you will never feel lost, for you will have found your anchor, your rock, the weight of gravity that tethers you to solid form. With your arms open wide, with your hair blowing in the breeze and your feet planted, feel the weight of earth reconnect you to the constant rhythm of life, of creation, to the heartbeat of the mother whose pulse is the rhythm of creation. If you can attune to her and keep your finger on the pulse of what is constant within, you will become less affected by all that is fleeting and all that is temporary. You will be less influenced by the voices of protection, of separation, and the whims of your ego mind, and more in tune with the one mind, one heart, and one voice of source consciousness that animates all living things, does nothing, but is everything. Find her rhythm, attune to the chord of creation, and you will vibrate at the frequency of life. No longer adjusting your note to the tune of the external world, but rather attuned to the internal and eternal drumbeat of the mother, where life and love are not only certain, but are forever expanding. Ride the wave of the constant, and change will become your natural evolution, and the singular guiding force through the divine light that is your life. Okay, so let's bring this down to earth for a minute. I want to leave you with a few simple ways to start reconnecting to that constant source within yourself, especially when your world feels chaotic and overwhelming and full of noise, when you're grieving or when you're doubting yourself, and when the external noise is just so loud you can't hear your own voice, your own heartbeat. Number one, your breath is an anchor, right? It's the most immediate reflection of life's rhythm. When you feel lost, stop, pause, breathe, feel your chest rise. Breathe out, feel your body return. That's the constant. Remember what I said before, that same breath, that same movement that creates the breath is the movement that's found in the tides and the seasons. Number two, ground your body. Place your hands on your belly. Feel your feet rooting down. Even if your mind is spinning, your body has an intelligence of its own, and your body can reconnect you to the steady force of the earth. Number three, practice silence. The world is loud, and you need intentional quiet. Even 5 minutes a day, no phone, no noise, just sit with your own energy. That stillness, right? It helps you remember what is steady. Put your hand on your heart. And if you find yourself jumping out of your skin and resisting the stillness, well, that is important to pay attention to that feeling, because that's where your attention is needed. Number four, when you feel overwhelmed, I want you to ask yourself this question. What is true and constant within me right now? What is constant within me right now? Maybe it's your breath. Maybe it's your love for your animal, your child. Maybe it's simply that you're here, breathing, alive, having gratitude for being part of the great mystery of life. And finally, the world, the outer world never stops. But you can choose to find the steadiness within you. You can find your anchor. And when you do, it doesn't mean that the storms won't stop, but they won't move you off your center. When somebody hurts you, leaves you, it won't rock you. You'll be rooted and grounded. You will find the constant that's always within you. Thank you so much for being here today. If this message spoke to your heart, share it, send me a message, and I love hearing your reflections. And next time on Divinely Human, we're going to talk about the weight that so many of us carry, the quiet pressure of knowing that you have a soul mission or a purpose, and all the human doubts that come with it. I'll share my own stories and fears that I've faced, and give you powerful reminders that Spirit gave me about how to walk this path without carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. And I can't wait to share it with you. Until next time, remember, you are not just human, you are divinely human. Thank you for listening to Divinely Human. If this episode resonated with your soul, please subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who's on this path of awakening. You can find more offerings, sound codes, and soul support at sarahasherose.com or on Instagram at sarahasherose. Until next time, stay open, stay soft, and stay divinely human.